Aries crew, come on in, come on in, come on in. I hope you are having a fabulous start to your Friday. The weekend is here. I am ready. I don't know about you. I'm glad this week is over. Come on in, get your popcorn, get your drinks. We are going to do a movie review on the latest film to come out, Him, starring Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers. So find out whether or not this movie is worth going to see. I'm going to go over some scenes that kind of stood out to me, what my thoughts were on the film, some great things that the film had to offer, and some questionable things about the film that made it not as enjoyable as it potentially could have been. So if you haven't seen the movie, or if you have seen the movie, come on in. We'd love to have the discussion with you here in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the film, what you've been hearing about it, if you're interested in seeing it. Before we go any further, welcome to Aries Rose TV. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Aries Rose, and on this channel we talk about streaming shows, movies, TV shows, world news, local news, politics, basically anything I find interesting, I come on and discuss with my Aries crew. So I've been trying to do more movie reviews because I absolutely love going to the movies, and I go to the movies a lot. So I want to incorporate that more into the channel. So stay tuned for more lives that I'm going to be doing on some of the films that I've had a chance to see. And then we're also going to branch into some streaming shows and streaming movies as well. So bear with me as this channel is growing and we're figuring out kind of what we want to focus on as we hone in. We're always going to do trending topics and celebrity news, but we want to add a little bit more into what we serve here on this channel, touch a little bit more onto the different areas. But let's get into this latest movie. So Him caught my attention before it came out. Anytime I see Jordan Peele's name associated with something, I'm going to go see it. He had me hooked when I saw the movie Get Out. I did not really watch Key and Peele when that show was on Comedy Central. I believe that was the channel it was on. Not necessarily my humor. I'd heard of them. I've seen it since the show has gone off of Comedy Central, and there was definitely some very funny skits in there. The chemistry between Key and Peele is undeniable. The two worked off each other really well. I like the way they played into their multicultural identity and how that can be tricky sometimes to navigate between the two groups because they won't quite see you as fitting in all the way on either side. So I do like the way they explored that, and absolutely love the way he had a dark sense of humor, and the direction that the movie Get Out and Us went into. Those are two of my absolute favorite movies that he did. I really, really enjoyed the premise. I liked how the movie kind of explored things you would do in those actual situations versus putting them in kind of the spots you see in typical scary movies where they're going to get killed, where they trip over the invisible stick or something like that. He made his characters a little bit more complex in Get Out and Us, that I think added to the horror element of it, and he does it very well. I'm a huge scary movie fan, so if you say Jordan Peele, it's kind of got some kind of scary movie vibe to it, I'm there. So when I saw his name, I watched the trailer. Wasn't too sold on the trailer, but I thought, okay, maybe they're just not giving anything away, and I enjoyed that. And I want to see, where are they going to go with this? Football, scary, not sure how you're going to intertwine the two, but I'm hooked. So, needless to say, when this movie first came out, I had to go and check it out. And I wanted to see if it was worth what I kind of hyped it up to in my mind. So let's talk about what this movie is about in case you are not familiar. This is from IMDb. A young athlete descends into a world of terror when he's invited to train with a legendary champion whose charisma curdles into something darker. And so this is, I think, one of the newer movies that Tyreek Withers has come out on. So I don't think he started much. So this is kind of like early on in his career. Marlon Wayans, he is a legend with the Wayans family. He's done a lot with comedy, but he's also branched out into other types of movies as well. And I think this is such a different role than I've ever seen Marlon in, and I thought he did a great job. Let's talk about some of the other stars here. that were in this movie as well. Julia Fox was in this movie. Now, she's had other acting credits, but she truly did not fall onto my radar until she started dating Kanye after he broke up with Kim Kardashian. But I know she's had more in her repertoire than that. But for me, that's when Julia Fox came on the scene. But she's also in this movie as well. And I don't know, not running into any other names that may be as recognizable as those folks. And let's talk about what this movie did well. So I thought it had a very cool, stylish vibe to it. It definitely had a nice kind of a modern feel to the whole movie when you're seeing the inside of Marlon Wayans' home, and he's the GOAT. He is the current best quarterback there is right now, and he's looking to retire in the next year, and he wants to train somebody to take his place. So all of his success has amassed him a really beautiful, beautiful home, and it just has a very modern look to it, kind of minimalist on the furniture, very basic earth tony type colors, but still a really nice setup. Definitely, you could tell there was money, and I thought that whole look of the way the movie was shot definitely added to the vibe. It played up on color a lot, in particular color of red, and I thought it did a good job with that, with the play on color to make an emphasis on a point or something in the scene. I also enjoyed the acting from Marlon Wayans. I think that was some of the best acting that I've ever seen him do in a film. And to me, he was the best actor in the film. It was like he brought his A game compared to everybody else. It was almost a shame how well that performance went for this movie, but he had range in this movie that I didn't know was possible for Marlon. So I would say he was one of the best parts of the movie. And I also enjoyed Tyreek Withers. I thought he did a great job in his role as a young quarterback that was looking to be molded, and who would not want to be molded and groomed by one of the top quarterbacks that's in the game right now. I mean, if they're reaching out to you and they want you to come by and see if there's any way they can help elevate your game or get you into position to be in the, I guess it was the NFL version in this movie universe here, who would turn that down? And so he definitely did what I think anybody would do if you're presented in one of these opportunities and it's your field of choice that you want to progress in. And the chemistry between these two was really great too. I thought they played off each other very well, very believable relationship, believable interactions. Nothing seemed forced or inauthentic. So I thought that really helped, because if the characters don't gel, it kind of takes you out of the movie. And it was a really weird movie to begin with. So the characters gelling helped keep you interested. And I have to say, Julia Fox did a great job. It almost didn't even seem like she was acting. I feel like she could have probably be doing the stuff that was in this movie in her regular life, because she just really played that role up so well that I felt like I don't even think I'm watching you act. This is probably just a regular day in your life. It seems like you'd be into like some weird stuff, some crazy industry party type stuff is going on. That's just the vibe I always get from her, and I felt like that just carried into this role, and it fit perfectly in this world. So that was some great casting for Julia Fox to be in this film. She surprisingly did not take away. I felt like she added to it. So I mean, those three I would say were some of the top major characters in here, and their acting was just, it was A plus compared to the movie they had to work with. They came and brought their game, and that helped keep the movie interesting, because otherwise, outside of those things, I just don't have much nice to say about this film. I thought it was weird. It was like a crazy fever dream when you're on some wild substances. That's what this movie felt like. I kept wanting things to come together that I was seeing, and nothing ever pieced together. And I'm okay sometimes if a story leaves some things hanging, everything doesn't have to be explained, but it just seemed like it was a whole bunch of lead up to nothingness. So the movie is shot in chapters, and most of the time If a movie is shot in chapters or some kind of format where it's telling a story maybe backwards or out of sequence, it all comes together in the end because the way it's being told is supposed to help move the story along or give you some insight to why a character did something maybe earlier in the film that you didn't see because it was done off camera. Sorry, something's in my eye. So this movie never really brought back anything that it had thrown out there to kind of explain why it was there. And that kind of took me out of the movie because it felt like there was just a whole bunch of nothingness. Like I'm seeing things that lead to nothing. It doesn't explore any further, help me to understand why something is happening. And it just felt like it was an art film or a student film that somehow made it to Hollywood, but it could have just as well come out on streaming. And I think it probably should have because it would have met the type of film that it was. It just seemed very artsy, very avant garde. And that may or may not play well in a general audience type of film, especially when I feel like it's being promoted in a way other than what it is. It gave me Ready or Not vibes. And if you're not familiar with that film, it kind of had a satanic devil worshiping vibe to it where the characters, if you have not seen Ready or Not, this is a spoiler alert. The characters obviously have some pat with or pack with the devil where they are able to make lots of money and stay super rich. However, in turn for that, they have to play this game with anybody who comes into the family. And if they get a certain game, they essentially don't live. And if this doesn't happen the way it's supposed to, it ends up costing the family their life because that's a part of what they have to pay to stay rich, I guess. And so this movie kind of had that undertone to it that there was some pact that was made with the devil that needed to be carried out, and certain things have to happen in order for that fulfillment to be met. But I just didn't like the way the story didn't kind of incorporate the element in to help get an understanding better of where this came from, why it started, why you doing it, why was this particular person picked. It was just, it left a lot more questions than answers, which isn't always the way I like to leave a film. So some of the criticisms on this movie I completely understand. Let's kind of go through some of the scenes that really stood out to me in this film. If you have not seen him, spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about some things that are in the film. So if you don't want to find out, go ahead and click off now and come back after you have watched the movie. This is your warning for spoilers. 3, 2, 1. And so one of the scenes that stood out is Tyreek Withers, who plays Cade in the movie. Let me see his name. I don't know if it's Cameron Cade or just Cade. Let me double check here. He gets offered an opportunity to be in the NFL. His manager calls and says, they want to set up something. His name is Cam, so it's Cam Cade, Cameron Cade, and he gets this opportunity to be in the NFL. And he just recently had a head injury where he was affected by CTE. And Marlon, he goes to meet Marlon because he accepts this offer, and he goes to meet with Marlon, who's currently the GOAT, who's offered to train him at his football compound / house. And he takes Cam's cell phone because there's no cell phones are allowed here. And then the trainer is introduced, and his name is Marco. So he's checking on Tyreek's, physical fitness, basically checking his body, just trying to see what's going on with him because this is his first time being there. And Cam in the film, his name is Cam, and he interprets that he needs to fully be unclothed in order for this physical examination to take place. And one of the funny parts in the film Marco says, I thought you keep your underwear on. It's been incredibly awkward for me. And it was funny because prior to that, they did make him seem like he needed to be fully undressed for this to happen. And so when he does it, then for them to treat him like, that's kind of weird. I wasn't expecting you to do that. Like, you can keep your underwear on for this process. That was pretty funny. Marco, the trainer, actually was another standout in the film. I thought he did a good job of providing comic relief and also kind of pushing the story along as well. It was a good kind of side character in the film, nice compliment to the others. And then there goes into a scene where Marlon is training with Cam here, and he's got other people that come out that are teammates on this team, although it's kind of weird because you're not really clear, are these people on the team? Are they just people that he hires to train with? But he puts them in some weird situations, and one of them is one of those machines that you put the ball in that will shoot it out like it's being passed. And so you just have to put the ball in, and then the machine will just keep passing it out. So he's making Tyreek pass the football, throw the football, and he's got to throw the football a certain way or hit this certain target. And it's supposed to keep this person who they have in front of this machine that's having a football fed to it, he keeps getting hit by the football every time Tyreek misses the throw that he's supposed to be getting. And it's pretty gory. I don't like that type of stuff just for the sake of doing something like that. And he's just like getting hit in the face. To me, that was so uncomfortable and cringy. And it didn't go anywhere. I didn't understand why that was being done. I don't know if that was just supposed to represent people's loyalty to do crazy things or to hurt their bodies because of somebody they perceive to be famous or special, or somebody they want to be close to, so they just want to do things to please them. I'm sure that behavior was meant to represent something, but I just felt like the movie could have done without it because it never really circled back to explain, why did this guy do that? Is there some reward for him doing this to himself? I don't understand. It was just really a bizarre part of the movie that just felt like it was there to be there. One of the cool things that it did do was kind of like this infrared where you could see when they are playing football and there's a crash together or something may hit Cam's head, that you can kind of see what it looks like with the skeleton and where the impact is happening. And I thought that was really cool because you can't see that on our bodies now, I guess, unless you get a bruising or something. You don't always know the strength of the impact or what it looks like on the inside because we don't have x-ray vision, right? So it was kind of cool to see those scenes because I think it added something to it, and it made you realize, like, wow, football can be a very violent sport because they are crashing into each other at high speeds, and serious weight here that's just boom crashing into another body here. And it just kind of puts into context the type of stuff that these players do to their bodies in the name of sport and entertainment and making these owners money. So I'm sure all of these things in this movie were meant to be a greater metaphor to some of those things, because football in the United States is definitely a religion. It's one of the most popular sports out here. I think Europe is heavily on soccer, and I feel like football is American soccer, if you will. Not the same sport, but it's that big of a deal out here. And depending on what part of the country, and it's a way of life. So it's got a huge following. It makes billions and billions of dollars. Super Bowl is one of the most watched things on television. That's why companies pay so much to have their ads play during the Super Bowl. So football is a very big thing out here in America. So that concept of kind of celebrity worship, or somebody being considered just above everybody because of their talent, that kind of worship definitely, I would say, can be applied to some of the elite players, if you will, of football, like a Tom Brady type of thing, a Joe Montana. I'm sure there's multiple people that can fit into this description. I don't know every single quarterback prior enough, but some of them stick out in those folks. I'm sure that's right along the lines of how a lot of people feel about them. And let's kind of get back into some other scenes in the movie that stood out to me. The trainer talking to Cam, they're just having a moment where they're just chilling out, and he's talking about his experience there, and he's telling them, I haven't seen my kids. And Kate's like, oh, well, how many kids do you have? And he's like, I don't have any kids, but if I had any, I wouldn't be able to see them. And he's like, okay, you know funny comic relief moment. I thought it added some nice levity to an otherwise just very bizarre, weird movie. And then there's this random woman who's like a super fan, if you will, but she's just a very creepy looking woman. And she somehow gets into like this spa sauna that Marlon has in his home. And Tyreek is, or Cam, Kate is in there just chillaxing, and she's on underneath where he's laying on this kind of concrete slab. She's underneath it on the floor. She comes out and she's trying to strangle him, or she's trying to hurt him. It looks like, I think she's like trying to smash something on him, and then he ends up putting his hands around her neck and holding them tightly. And she doesn't he thinks that he has made her become deleted because of that, but it does not delete her. But then she gets up, she's kind of down for a little bit, and then she gets up and she's trying to hurt him again, and Marlon sees that, and Marlon ends up being the one that takes care of her. And he just kind of treats it nonchalantly, like he didn't just do what he did. And he's like, I'll clean this up. I owe it to the fans. And she's got two guys who don't really talk. They just call her mama. And they're sitting there in underwear with football heads. Very bizarre. I don't know the point of that. I don't know why they were there. It was just a weird scene. It just felt very reflective of the movie, just random stuff being there. And that's where I was like, this is a fever dream. This is just a hodgepodge of stuff that you would dream about if you were just like super sick and on something. That's kind of what this movie, that's the energy this movie gave. Um, so at some point, because initially when Cade first comes to this compound, he sees that Isaiah is either getting blood taken or getting blood put into him. And so, and this is the character of Isaiah is Marlon Wayans. And he asks Cade, oh, do you want some of this? And he's like, no. And he's like, okay, And so eventually the whole goal is to get Cade to want to accept this blood, because this blood ultimately is the goat's blood. And that's what's going to make him good. So they got to get it into his body in order for him to be able to become this next goat, to pretty much take over what Marlon's spot is here if they find him worthy. So he does eventually get that put into him. He doesn't realize that though. And then Marlon explains here what the whole point of him coming there was. They needed to get up his physical training. They needed to get him in the right mental space. And then ultimately they were trying to put that blood into him so that he could become the goat. And then these two have to fight it out. And whoever comes out on the other side gets to be the goat, gets to be him. Hence that movie name. It gets to be that dude. I'm that guy. I'm him. And then he will get this NFL deal. So they end up fighting it out. Surprise, surprise. This is who makes it out of there. And then that scene in the poster that you may see where he's holding two footballs with his arms out, kind of like in a crucifix sort of way. That's what you end up seeing at the end of the film, because he comes out on the other side, and these people who want to sign him to this NFL contract are wearing goat heads. It's a very bizarre, and they're on a football field. You got cheerleaders on either side coming out. They want him to sign, which may be like signing his soul away, which he does not do. And then he ends up pretty much taking everybody out. It just gets wild at the end. You got planes flying overhead. It was just sensory overload and craziness happening on the screen. And I just don't know what to make of it. It's a movie I felt like I needed to sit with to really appreciate, and I have sat with it, and I still cannot say that I like it. I honestly would not pay money to go and see this movie again. I thought it was a cool, artsy kind of film for what it was, but I just don't think it was the movie I was led to believe it was going to be from the trailers. It's my understanding that Jordan Peele produced this film, but he did not direct it. It was directed by Justin Tipping. So they keep using Jordan Peele's name because he's a bigger name. It's a draw. He's got a lot of hits behind him, but it's not really a Jordan Peele movie because when I thought it was, I was getting concerned. I felt like he was having like a M. Night Shyamalan moment where you came out swinging hard, you were doing really good, and then the quality of your movies are going down. Because Nope, I didn't really care for Nope. I'll be honest, I did not really care for it. I thought it was cool. The shooting of the movie was well done, the cinematography, but just that alien, no, and just some of it did not do what it could have done. I'd rather have saw a movie about the monkey that was featured in Nope. That's a movie I felt like he should have made. He could have kept that clothy alien thing and made the movie about that monkey. That would have been more interesting. So I felt like he was starting to go downhill, and then I feel a little bit better knowing that he didn't necessarily direct this. But if I were him, I'd be asking to have my name taken off because this is just not one I think you'll want to be associated with Jordan. Just my opinion. But let me know if you have checked out him, what you thought about the movie. Let's keep that conversation going here in the comments. We are into spooky season, so stay tuned for more reviews of scary movies to come. If you have any suggestions, leave them here in the comments, or you can leave them for me in the communities tab. If you are a subscriber to Aries Rose TV, you can leave comments for me there. Let me know about trending topics, questions. I will definitely respond back to you on there. If you have not already subscribed, all you got to do is hit that subscription button. It's free to join. We'd love to have you a part of the Aries crew. We have fun over here. Look forward to seeing you on the next live. We will be going live over the weekend, so stay tuned. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, evening, or afternoon, whichever time of day you are watching, and we'll see you later. Be sure to like the video as you come in. It goes a long way and helps to support the channel. It means a lot. We'll see you later. Take care.